Hey, welcome back, everybody. Today we're going to be playing around with Carbide Create a little more, and we're actually going to use some of the pro features to do some 3D work. And we're going to do this kind of unofficial style seal of the U.S. Navy. Um, so let's just go to our job setup. I'm going to set my sizes here as 11 by 11. Model resolution, we're going to go to very high. Stock thickness, 0.7 is fine. We'll be working from the top. Toolpath 0 is going to be the lower left. We're just using pine, so soft wood will be fine. We're going to set the speeds ourselves anyways, so it's not really a big deal. We're on the XXL, retract height, just leave that what it was. And looks like we're all set there. All right. So now you do need to just make sure that you have the Pro enabled. On a Mac, you come up to Carbide Create here, click About Carbide Create, and right now it would say Disable, but normally it'll say Enable Pro, and you'll just click that, and you'll have the Pro version. After you enable that, you just need to close out of it and reopen it. So we're going to use a couple different files. I've already downloaded them, and I will put a link in the description to where I got them from. Let's just scale that down a little bit. Do it 10 inches. We can actually center that to the stock. We'll use the align. Center. We're done with that. Now I don't really like the way this eagle is here, so I've got a better one that we're going to use. All right, we're going to just make that a little bit bigger. See what 4 inches looks like. And all right, let's get this one here out of the way. We need to ungroup this. We will also ungroup this, and let's just get rid of that. And let's get rid of that part of the outline. Get rid of that line there. And I actually want this outside border to just be a little further out. So let's resize that. So 10. Yeah, that's a little better. All right, now we can select this, group this together. Select this here, and we'll group that together, but separately. So now we need to, I want to align this to this, select this first. Then we will also select this, hit align, and it's going to move it into the center. We can make this a little bit bigger. Actually, there's something I'm seeing here that I'm not really liking. This kind of inside circle sort of flattens out here. So let's go ahead and reselect the outside part of the seal, ungroup it. We'll delete that, and let's just make a new circle. So I just started in the center here, the center node, and that perfectly centered that. I'm actually going to redo all these circles just in case there's any inconsistencies in them. Alright, so we're on that center. And we got Alright, now one more time for the outside. And yeah, that looks pretty good. Alright, and let's just save this. Alright, so now that we have our design, we need to model it in 3D. So we'll click on that there. And the first thing that we're going to do, actually we're going to go back real quick to design. We need to make a box around here. So make a box, and we'll make it 11 by 11. And then we're just going to align that to the stock. All right. Now we can go back to model, and we're going to select just that box on the outside. And we're going to come over here to shape. We're going to do a flat shape, and this is going to be our stock. Basically, it really doesn't matter how much we set this up, because we're not going to be machining all the way through it. But so we'll do 0.7 just because that's our stock thickness. And we want to make sure that we're on add. We're going to name our component. Stuff can get a little confusing if you don't do that, so I definitely recommend naming the component, and we'll just name that stock. So apply. Now we can click show 3D, and you can just see that we've got our 10 by 10 by or 11 by 11 by 3/4 inch thick piece of wood there. Now you want to make sure that you click done, because any other changes that you made would happen to that, so we don't want to mess that up. So the next one we're going to do is we're going to go back to design and ungroup that. So we're just going to select this outside circle. We'll go back to model, click shape, and again we're going to do flat. Our height is going to be, we'll do 0.25, and we want to make sure that we're on subtract here. So this is going to subtract from this outside piece of material that we already made, which has a height of 0.7. So we're just going to subtract from that material there. Again, we'll name that. We'll just name that recess. Click apply, and we can go show 3D, and then you see that we're coming down about 1/4 of an inch there. So now we've got our recess. Again, we'll click done. Go ahead and save again. Hide 3D. Now we need to get all this detail in there. And to do that, let's go ahead and select all of this. And we're just going to unselect that outside because we already have that part in. And basically everything that we've got here that's selected, we're going to now add back in to the recess that we put. So again, we'll come to shape. Alright, so you can see everything that we've got selected there. We're going to do this round this time. Alright, so we're on add, and we want our height to be 0.2. Go ahead and apply that. And let's click show 3D. See, now you can see we've added back in all those details there, and they're coming up out of that recess. Click done, and you can see here it's got, so our stock, it's got a plus because we added the recess, a minus, and then again back to the rest of the logo, we've got a plus because we're adding back in that material. Save that. You can say hide 3D. All right, now the really hard part, we're going to make the toolpath. So we'll click this toolpath here. We're going to click just this outside circle. We don't need to worry about any of the rest of this. We click that, and we're going to hit 3D finish. Now to rough this in, I'm going to use a 102, which is a 1/8 inch end mill. It's just a flat end mill. I don't have any other ones to use right now. A ball would work well, but a flat end mill will work well also. So select that. We're gonna make some changes to things here. So step over, that's fine. That's about, that's actually under half of the diameter of the bit. So we can leave that alone. Feed rate, you can turn the feed rates up quite a bit. So let's go with, let's try 60. And the plunge rate, we'll turn that up to 30. For angle, we'll just keep it at 0. And this is actually going to be our roughing. All right, and it gives us a time estimate of 32 minutes, which is pretty quick. So let's save it, take a look at that simulation. Turn our toolpaths off. So I was obviously joking when I said this is the hard part. So all we did was select that outside circle. generate our 3D toolpath, and it does everything inside. So it really takes care of everything for you and makes it really easy. So this is going to leave it a little rough. Even in the image here, you can see that it's kind of rough. All right, so now let's do a finish pass, and we'll just select this outside again, click 3D finish, and I have a 031 ball mill that I'm going to use for this. So I've got that selected already. Set our speeds, which are our step over, I'm sorry. Let's do that 15, about half. Feed rate. We're not going to be removing a ton of material here because we've already removed most of it with the roughing pass. Put that at 80, and then our plunge at 40. These are just speeds that I've come up with that seem safe, just based off my experimentation with this. All right, so that one's going to take a little longer, but we'll probably be able to turn it up from 100% to whatever we're comfortable with. So that'll actually probably run a lot faster. And like I said, I'm using a really small bit there. That's really overkill. We definitely don't need to use something that small. Just right now, it's all I have. So let's just save this again. And now, just like before, we'll disable one. We'll save the G code. So this is going to be the G code for our roughing, which is going to be with that 1/8 inch. And then we'll go ahead and disable that and enable the finish. And we'll save that G code. All right, and we're done. So let's get to cutting this out. Alright, so we just finished up our roughing pass. The last part of that video, that was real time, that wasn't sped up at all, so you can see how fast we're cutting. I actually turned the speeds up to 200% in Carbide Motion, so you can go pretty fast with when you're doing this 3D carving. So it left it pretty rough. Now we're going to come back in with the smaller tool that I have and do our finish pass. Just one more thing, you could see that my dust boot was really clogging up. You know, we're cutting really fast and making big cuts, and the chips were really big, so it was just too much for it to handle. I run a 3DP dust boot, so I might go ahead and open up the hole in there just so it can suck up these bigger chips a little bit better. I'm actually going to remove it for the finish pass so you guys can really see exactly how the bit is cutting. Alright, so I'm going to do a bit change here. If If you've watched any of my other videos, you know that I run these collars. I've got a video showing exactly how I set them up. So because of this, I don't have to reset my Z height. So I'm just going to swap this out and then we can start right back up. All right, so we're all done with our finish pass, and uh, it came out a little stringy. I think it was mostly because we were just going from left to right. So what I'm going to do is make another pass where we're going to cut it at a 45. I think that would have worked better. And we're also going to cut out the diameter, the outside diameter of this, so we can just have our round shape. And I'll show you how we're going to do that, and then we'll just cut that real quick. It shouldn't take too long. All right, so to change this, we're just going to click on here, the finish. We have this option for angle. We're just going to change that to 45. Now, instead of the lines running this way, they're going to run this way. I think that's just going to help clean up some of those strings. We could probably also just do it with some sandpaper, but this probably would have been the more correct way to do it originally. So we'll run that. We've got our finish. Go ahead and save that. All right, we'll just save this G code. All right, we'll go ahead and cut those out now. Alright, so here's our completed project. Came out pretty good. You know, this is really one of the first 3D things that I've done with Carbide Create Pro. You know, I'm sure there's a lot more to come when the real version comes out, which I'm pretty excited for. You know, if you have any questions, please ask in the comments. If this helped you out, please give me a thumbs up on the video and subscribe to my channel. I'm going to keep coming out with stuff on Carbide Create and the Shapeoko, and I come out with a lot of other stuff too, on furniture and all sorts of stuff. So thank you again, and I'll be seeing you soon.